recording is on.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to LisaBug Yoga this morning. And what I have for us today, I'm going to call this Yin-yasa combination. So we know what a Vinyasa style yoga class is. It's a flow class where the movements flow from one pose to the next. It's typically through a series of sun salutations and modifications of a sun salutation. So I've got Vinyasa, then mixed with Yin style yoga. We haven't done Yin in a while in LisaBug classes. So Yin poses are held for at least 2 minutes and beyond. Today we'll be holding them for approximately 2 minutes. So I'm combining Vinyasa styles, so we'll be moving and flowing with Yin poses where we'll stop and we'll take a stretch for an extended period of time. So I have as an option today a chair, and I'm going to use that to support myself in poses such as forward folds and pyramid, things like that. You don't need a chair. I also have a block, but you might not need any equipment at all. I do have a padding for my knees because we'll be going through dragon and some of those poses where we're down onto our knees, and a yoga strap as well. So let's start at the top of your mat, and if you are going to be using a chair, you'll set it right there for our forward folds or have your block at the ready. Just come to mountain pose and begin to find the most beautiful alignment of your spine that you can come into. So really lengthening through the crown of the head, draw those shoulders back, standing tall. Feel the earth rooted underneath the bottoms of your feet and pull up energy into your thighs and begin to breathe deep into the belly, inhaling and exhaling through the nose. And just check in internally, maybe even closing your eyes for a couple of breaths, noticing how your body feels from the inside out. And vowing to honor your body today, staying with your own limitations as we move through our poses. Just clear your mind of any external chatter and fully be in the present moment. And blink your eyes open. We'll bring our arms forward, extend them up, gazing towards the fingertips. Allow your arms to open and circle back behind you. And as they come around, bend the knees and sit into a baby chair pose. And again, the arms are continuing a circle forward, up, extend the spine, open the chest, and sink down into the heels. And we insert the breath, a big inhalation as the arms come up and open, fill the lungs. Exhale as you sink into chair. We're just warming up the shoulders, connecting the breath and the body. One more repetition. Holding chair. Then as you reverse the arms, they drop down. As you rise, they circle back behind. Open the heart. Gazing up, and as the arms come forward, sink into your chair. Inhale, circle, breathe. And exhale, maybe a little deeper into the legs now. Also increasing that range of motion through the shoulders, whatever feels okay for your body today. If you have any shoulder injuries, just make the circle smaller. And 2 more. Breathe in, slow and controlled mindful movement. And last one. holding chair. Now we'll move through a twisting chair. So sweep the arms out, up, extend. And then as you turn to the right, wrap your arms around your body. So the right arm comes behind your back. The left arm comes in front of that right hip. Inhale, reach up. Wrap your arms around to the left side. And slowly. You'll still feel some warming through the shoulders. So the arm that's behind your back, you're feeling a stretch right there. Just make it nice and soft and comfortable. And we're looking over the shoulder. So warming up through the neck. The knees stay nicely aligned with one another. And one more each side. And inhale, sweep all the way up. Exhale and swan dive into forward fold or half lift forward fold. So if you're using your chair, you can bring your elbows right down onto your chair. You can also support your forehead, or you can grab opposite elbows and hang in ragdoll, or use a yoga block in front of you. So this first time, we're using our forward fold in a yin style. So holding this pose for about 2 minutes. And you might feel a little tight in your hamstrings here at the onset, so you can bend your knees as deeply as you need to. And that half forward fold is nice as well, where you're about halfway lifted up. The fingertips are pressing into the shins to support you here. And then just come into a nice relaxing breath. Inhale and exhale through the nose, slow and controlled. And over this process of holding our yin poses, you might feel that ability to sink a little deeper, especially into that second minute. So if you're using your yoga block, maybe you're at the highest position to start. And then over time, maybe dropping down to that middle position or the lowest position onto your block. We feel the abdominals engaged here, 30 seconds. So scoop the belly in. So we're pulling the navel toward the backbone, finding that Uddiyana Bandha lock. Just a couple more slow breaths. Then preparing to rise. Bend the knees a little deeper. Inhale, sweep the arms out and up. Extend. Exhale, swan dive back down into that forward bend. This time placing your hands down to the mat. We'll step the feet back behind you and drop the knees down into child's pose. So child's pose we can hold briefly, or we can also use child's pose in a yin style. So you can separate your knees a little wider if you'd like. Sink your belly right through that space between the knees. Arms can be extended way out to the top of your mat, or you can sweep them next to the sides of your body as well. Your hips can be high if you struggle with bending your knees deeply, or you can sit your hips all the way down to your heels if that feels comfortable for you here. Our goal is to get the forehead to be supported. So if it doesn't find the mat, you can stack your fists one on top of each other or place your yoga block underneath the forehead to relax. As we hold child's pose, It's also a sign or a symbol of gratitude and honor. So we can focus on what we're grateful for in our lives today. And just a few more breaths here in Child's Pose. If you'd like, you can change the position of your arms. The traditional Balasana Child's Pose, the hands are next to the sides of the body with palms up, the shoulders rolled forward. And one more deep breath in. From Child's Pose, we'll reach our hands out long to the top of our mat. Draw yourself up. Come into a kneeling plank. So drop the knees back behind you a bit and hold a nice solid plank. You can also come into high plank, tucking the toes under. Lift the hips, level with the floor, level with the mat, and really tighten up your thighs. And then from the knees or toes, lower down, Chaturanga Dandasana, coming all the way down to the belly. And then we'll take a baby cobra here, or slide the hands forward a bit more, coming into Sphinx Pose. And this is a yin supported spinal extension, so a little bit of a back bend. The legs are long and active, the belly's drawn in and up. Try not to slump down into your shoulders here, but really stay pressed up. Slightly firm up the glutes. And we're gently opening up the hip flexors as well. Now, if this is too much of a back bend and you feel pinching in your lower back, then slide those hands back underneath you a little bit and lower down into baby cobra. Use the strength of your back to stay lifted. Come back into your breathing and soften through your mind. There's nowhere to go, no place to be, just here and now, enjoying the fruits of our yoga practice. Let's take 3 more slow breaths in Sphinx or baby cobra. And on that third exhalation, slide the palms of the hands underneath the shoulders. As you press yourself up, tucking the toes, lift the hips, come into downward facing dog. Ooh, this one might feel a little tight, the first one of the day. So take a moment, maybe pedal out your feet a little bit. Open up through the armpits. And then drop both heels nice and evenly to the floor. Extend the legs as much as you can, but if hamstrings are really tight, it is okay to bend the knees deeply in a down dog. We want to find that nice alignment of our spine. Neutral position, not too much arch in the back, not too much rounding, but as neutral as we can be. Check into that position of your hands into the mat, the Hasta Bandha, and make sure you're not rolling out onto your baby finger side of your hand. Press the ball mound of that first index finger down into the mat, distributing the weight evenly across the ball mounds of each finger and of the thumb. Now try to broaden through the back of your shoulder blades a little bit so you're not collapsing and letting the shoulder blades wing together. And we'll take 3 more breaths here in our downward facing dog. If you need to come out sooner, you can always drop your knees down to the mat. And on that third exhalation, our destination is to walk or jump the feet up towards the hands, coming back to the top of the mat, and rising up, extend through the fingertips, reach, and press the palms of the hands at heart center. So we'll take a basic sun salutation A and move the body a little bit more vigorously. Inhale, sweep the arms out and up. Exhale, swan dive, forward bend. Inhale, half lift, fingertips float up the shins. Exhale, fold, and step or jump back to plank. From the knees or toes, lower down, chaturanga. Inhale, either baby cobra or upward facing dog. And exhale, press back into down dog, just 1 breath. Then bend the knees, walk or jump, feet back to the top of the mat, into forward bend. Halfway lift, inhale, long spine. Exhale, fold. Inhale, sweep the arms out and up. Exhale, hands to heart center. We'll do 3 more rounds of sun salutation A. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, lengthen the spine, fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold, and step or jump back to plank. From the knees or toes, descend the belly towards the mat, chaturanga. Inhale, baby cobra, or upward facing dog, shoulders are back. Exhale, downward facing dog, 1 breath. Step or jump, feet towards the top of the mat, forward bend. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale and fold. Inhale, sweep the arms up. Press palms into Samastitihi, our balanced tension. 2 more rounds. Inhale. Exhale. Halfway lift. Inhale. Fold. Exhale. Step or jump back. Plank. Lower down. Chaturanga. Inhale. Cobra or up dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Hold 1 breath. Deeply inhale. Exhale, step or jump. Feet towards the top of your mat. Forward bend. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, folding. Inhale, rise. Press palms. And 1 more round. Inhale. Exhale, lengthen. Halfway lift. Inhale. Exhale, fold, step or jump back. Lower down, chaturanga. Lengthen into cobra or up dog. Press back, down dog. 1 breath. And step or jump, feet back towards the top of the mat, forward bend. Halfway lift, inhale. Exhale, fold. Reverse swan dive, rising up. Press palms, Samastitihi. Feeling the heart rate elevated, the flow of blood to the muscles. So begin to insert yin poses into our vinyasa flow. So inhale, sweep the arms out and up. Exhale, swan dive into forward bend. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold and step your right foot back into low lunge, dropping the knee down. Coming up into Yin-yasa. And then we'll take the hands towards the inside of that left foot and walk your foot out a little wider and closer towards the top edge of your mat as we come into dragon. So we're holding dragon for 2 minutes. It's essential that you get your positioning in a place where it feels good for you. So that right knee should be way back behind your hip so we can open up that hip flexor. So really lengthen it back, maybe even a little further. You can tuck your back toes under, pick your knee up off the mat and walk it back. You can remain up onto your hands, or you can drop down onto your elbows, perhaps onto your block. And then find your breath. So today you choose how deep you'd like to go into these yin poses. So with yin, the principles are to find your edge, meaning where is that end range of motion for you in the pose that feels right for today. And once you find your edge, the goal is to remain still and hold the pose. However, if you need to adjust or come out of the pose, or even to sink deeper, that is all up to you. Just stay fully in the present moment and breathe. One more deep breath in. And as you exhale, we prepare to exit the pose by pressing up into the palms of the hands. Tucking that back toe under, lift the back knee up off the mat and step your front foot back to plank. From here, we flow through our half series vinyasa. So from the knees or toes, lower down chaturanga. Extend up into cobra or upward facing dog. Then tuck the toes, lift the hips, come into down dog, and spend a moment and just notice how your body feels from right to left side. Any differences that you might have. And then gazing towards the top of your mat, step or jump feet back towards your hands. Forward bend. Halfway lift, inhale. Exhale, fold. Rising up, inhale. Reach to the fingertips, maybe take a baby back bend. Press the palms, exhale into heart center. Breathe in, reach up. Breathe out, forward bend. Breathe in, halfway lift. Breathe out and fold, stepping your left foot back now into that low lunge. Drop your knee down. Rising up into Yin-yasa. And then reach both hands to the inside of the right foot and walk that foot out a little wider and closer towards the top of your mat as we come into dragon on this side. So our first few breaths we take just to orient the pose and make sure we're in proper alignment as we prepare to hold for 2 minutes time. And then using your props, if needed, to come down a little deeper onto the elbows. And make sure that back knee is way back behind the hip to open up the left hip flexor. And we also feel a gentle stretch in our right glute and the upper attachment of the right hamstring. Now, if your back knee is really, really tender, and you've even got it on a cushion, and that feels uncomfortable for you, you can tuck the back toes underneath and slightly lift some pressure out of the back knee. Sometimes even just to tuck the toes under makes this pose feel better. There's less pressure into the top of the kneecap. We have 1 minute remaining, holding and breathing. And we try to make ourselves as comfortable as possible in yin poses. It should be a place where we can remain for a period of time without any strain or pain in the joints. And always give yourself the permission to come out of the poses sooner if you need to do so, or to modify them in any way. 3 more breaths here. And as we prepare to exit the pose, press up into the palms of the hands. The back toes tuck under to lift the knee off the mat. Step back to plank. From the knees or toes, flow through your half series vinyasa, lowering down through chaturanga, extending into cobra or upward facing dog, and pressing back into down dog, holding momentarily to notice the balance between the right and left sides. Then gazing towards the top of the mat, step or jump, feet towards the hands, back into forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale and fold. Inhale, sweep the arms out and up, extend through the fingertips. Press the palms into Samastitihi. Our next yin pose will be pyramid. And if you're using a chair, you can bring that a little closer towards you, perhaps your block. We'll inhale, sweep the arms out and up. Exhale, swan dive into forward bend. Inhale, halfway. Exhale, fold. And step your right foot back into a short stance warrior 1. So we're going to plant that foot and rise up into warrior 1 pose. So there's not a long stride between the front and back foot. It's fairly short, and we'll straighten out the front leg and bring the hands to the hips to square them off. We begin to hinge right at the hip joint as we come forward into our pyramid. And here's where, if we're using our chair, we can draw it towards us and support here. So you can fold your elbows across the chair, you can support your hands right on top. And if you're not using a chair, fingertips can go here to the shins or down to a block in front of you. If you can access the floor, that's wonderful too. Try to support yourself in some way as we hold this pose 2 minutes time. So our primary goal is to lengthen that front leg hamstring, the left leg. But you can also align your back foot to be a little more parallel and press the heel down into the mat and feel the right calf stretching here as well, which is a wonderful benefit. You might feel some stretching into the lower back. And if you find that you've gone too deep into the pose, you need to come up out of it a little bit, feel free to move. Otherwise, stay still in the pose. And just about 30 seconds remaining. Perhaps you can find a deeper place. And one more deep inhalation. And as you exhale, you make your way into plank. So you can bend that front knee a little bit deeper to slide the back foot further back. Step the front foot back, plank pose. Now, if you need a breather, you can take child's pose here. Otherwise, we flow through our half series vinyasa, lowering down from the knees or toes, extending up into cobra or up dog, pressing back into downward facing dog, just noticing differences between the right and left sides of the body. Bending the knees, step or jump feet towards the top of the mat as we come into forward bend. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale and fold. Inhale, reaching up through the fingertips, Urdhva Hastasana, upward salute, and press the palms at heart center. Moving into the other side. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, lengthen, dive down. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold and step your left foot back into a short stance, warrior one, rising up to square the hips off forward. Bring hands to the hips, roll the shoulder blades back. Nice posture, straighten out the front leg. And begin to hinge forward from the hips until we come into our pyramid. We can use the chair to support, use your block to support, or place fingertips on the shin or down to the mat. And just notice any differences you might feel between the right side and the left as we're primarily focusing down the back of that right leg into the hamstring. We can also align the back foot a little bit more parallel and press the heel down into the mat, stretching through the calf and the Achilles tendon. And try to stay supported as best as you can so you can relax the muscles into the stretch. So you're not tightening or tensing. And breathing deeply. And our goal is to have the hips as squared as possible. Sometimes they'll scissor quite a bit as one leg is in front and the other is back. So try to pull your right thigh bone back behind you and press your left hip bone forward so that the hips are squared and aligned right across the sacrum. And we have 30 seconds remaining in our pyramid. Just a couple more breaths, maybe sinking a little deeper, finding a new edge. And then preparing to move through your half series vinyasa. You'll step that back foot further behind you, step into plank pose. From the knees or toes, lower down, chaturanga. Extending into baby cobra or upward facing dog. And pressing back to downward dog. Checking in and noticing. One more breath here in our down dog. And then we'll drop the knees down to the mat to take a breather in child's pose. Now our next series of yin poses on the right and left sides will be a pyramid or a hip opener, either pigeon pose or coming into a figure 4 stretch. So if pigeon pose isn't a good one for you, take a moment now and roll over onto your back. If you like pigeon, come up into downward facing dog. If you're on your back, cross your right ankle over your left thigh. If you're choosing pigeon, we'll lift the right leg straight up and draw that knee forward toward the wrist and lower down into pigeon. If you're on your back, draw both knees in towards your chest. And we have 2 minutes in this hip opener. So for our pigeon pose, if this right hip is really lifted off the floor, you can use your blanket and support that hip nicely. And then lower your forehead down onto your block or onto stacked fists or all the way down onto the mat. If you're on your back in that figure 4 stretch, you're pulling the knees as closely in towards you as you can to feel that stretch through the right glute and the right hip. And then relax through the shoulders, through the upper back. And begin to slow the breathing. And keep your mind fully upon the stretch. And make sure you're not feeling any pain or discomfort in your right knee or into the bones of the hip socket. If you can, sink a little deeper or add any variations to this pose that suit you. And we have just over 30 seconds remaining. Relax through your jaw, through your eyelids, across your forehead. Now, if you're in your pigeon pose, then prepare to press back to down dog or to maybe child's pose. If you're on your back in figure 4 stretch, uncross the ankle, set your feet down onto the mat and maybe move through windshield wiper legs. If you're up in down dog, you can pedal out the feet a little bit. Just create a little bit of movement through the legs and get the blood flowing again into the joints. And then for pigeon, we'll lift the left leg up, draw that knee forward towards the same side wrist to lower down into pigeon. On your back, you'll cross the left ankle over that right thigh and draw the knees up towards the chest. So take your time again to find your edge. That's so important that we come into a comfortable place for these yin poses. And today we're only holding 2 minutes, but oftentimes they can be held for at least 3, 4, 5 minutes, even longer. And so it's so important for us to be in a comfortable place. We try to relax as much as we can so we're not tensing our arms. If we're in a figure four stretch, sometimes we grip really tightly around the back of the leg. So try to soften through the shoulders and then reconnect with your breathing. And then begin to notice if you feel a little bit more flexible and can sink deeper in some way in the pose for our last 45 seconds. And looking for 2 more deep breaths. And if you're in your pigeon pose, you'll come back one more time to downward facing dog, just to pedal out the feet a little bit. In figure four, you'll uncross the ankle and drop your knees from side to side, windshield wipers. And then we'll all transition to a seated position. You'll need your yoga strap if you have that available, maybe a cushion to sit on, and perhaps your block. As we come into half dragonfly. So with half dragonfly, we'll bend the right knee, extend the left leg out, and we'll use our yoga strap and place that underneath the bottom of the foot and give yourself a little pull to stretch the hamstring. So our first minute in half dragonfly will be to stretch over that extended leg and lengthen. Our second minute will be to stretch in the center as we're opening up that right hip a little bit and left hamstring. If you don't have a yoga strap, just simply place your fingertips into the mat here, or even reach your hands behind you if you're pretty tight in those hamstrings, and slightly press the body forward. Two more breaths. Then let go of the yoga strap and walk your hands through the middle and reach forward. And you can also use your block here to support, maybe with the hands or with the elbows, or using it also to support your forehead. And soften through the lower back. And send the breath into the backside ribs. And 2 more breaths here. And then switching sides, press yourself up. We'll extend the right leg out to straight and tucking that left knee into bend. Reach for your yoga strap. Extend it under the bottom of the foot. And we turn our torso towards the extended leg and pull ourselves forward. We have 1 minute in this position. Now, depending on the flexibility of your hips, this knee could be way up. So sometimes it's nice to place a block underneath that lifted leg to give yourself some support. And I'm feeling this definitely on the right side of my low back as well. So just notice where you're feeling intensity in the stretch and try to soften through those muscles. And one more breath. Then releasing the yoga strap, walk the hands to the center and fold forward. You can use that yoga block to help support you here. The more we feel supported in a yin pose, the more we can let go and relax and not tense the muscles. Try to slow your breathing a little bit. Maybe even coming into the Ujjayi breath, a soft whisper breath in the back of the throat, also known as the victorious breath. And one last inhalation. Exhale to press yourself up as we come into full dragonfly with both legs extended out into a wide leg straddle. We walk the hands through the center and fold forward. And you can also use your chair here. If you might have it in front of you, you can place your elbows up onto your chair, even your forehead, or you can bring your fingertips behind and press yourself forward. 2 minutes holding dragonfly. If you're pretty flexible, your fingertips can reach out towards your feet. And just release through the inner thighs, the groin, and the hamstrings. We have under 1 minute remaining. Perhaps you can find a new edge and sink a little deeper. It's important not to find any shaking in the muscles. If you've pushed a pose beyond your edge, sometimes those muscles will start to shake and quiver. So if that happens, just back off on the stretch a little bit and then slowly come back in and find your edge. And we'll take 2 more breaths. And then pressing yourself up, coming into butterfly. So the soles of the feet will come together, the knees will open and lengthen through the spine. Now we can use our elbows just a little bit and press the knees apart. We can fold our body forward as much as is comfortable, or we can also use our block on the tops of our feet to relax the forehead into the hands. Now, this can oftentimes be a big stretch through the lower back if you fold forward, so make sure that that's not pinching in the lumbar spine and that feels okay for you today. Then relax your hips so you're not connecting with your inner thigh muscles or activating them. They're totally relaxed. And 1 minute remaining in butterfly. And 2 more breaths. Then slowly pressing up, draw the knees together. So we'll close our practice with a twist on each side in a reclined position. And in Yin Yoga, there's a wonderful twist called the rooted twist. So what we'll do is place our props to the right side of our mat. So I'm using both a block and a blanket to give myself a little bit of lift for my knees. And then roll down onto your back. Hug your knees up into your chest for a moment. And then coming to tabletop position, we'll cross the left knee over the right leg and wrap the legs around. So it's like we're doing eagle pose. So we have a root here that's intertwined with each other, wrapped around, and then we open the arms out and drop the knees over onto your props for your twist. Now, if that doesn't feel comfortable for you, the rooted twist, of course, is just an option. You can stack your knees, one on top of each other, or just bring that left knee across into your twist. And we're holding here 2 minutes. We can keep our head neutral or turn our gaze away from the knees, so over towards the left hand. And if you can, try to keep that left shoulder blade down onto the mat. And our twisting poses are a great place to throw in maybe 3 cleansing breaths. So with a cleansing breath, we'll inhale as deeply as we can through the nose, and then exhale forcefully through the mouth. So we'll try that 3 times. Breathe in. And then just relax for the remainder of the pose. And we've got 40 seconds. 2 more breaths. And then carefully coming out of the pose, if you'd like, you can unwrap your legs first. And then bring those knees back up. And for a moment, set your feet down, realign your spine. And if you're using your props, you'll pick those up and place them onto the left side of your mat. And then we'll wrap the right leg over the left, intertwining into our rooted twist. Arms are open as we drop those knees over onto our props on the left side. Now, as you do this, if your right shoulder really lifts off the mat and you can't connect it, then you want to get your shoulders down and prop your legs up a little more so you're not in as deep of a twist. And we are here 2 minutes. And this is our last pose. So also allow your mind to clear. And try to relax as deeply as you can. And then if you'd like, 3 cleansing breaths. Inhale. And just relax and breathe normally. And just 30 seconds remaining. Two more breaths. And then as you exit that pose, maybe unwrapping the knees first and letting them draw up. Realign your spine and draw the knees into the chest. And we'll prepare to come up to seated. So you can either roll to your side and press yourself up, or hold behind your legs and start to rock yourself forward until you have enough momentum to come all the way up. And closing our practice in simple cross-leg pose. Elongate through the spine, through the crown of the head. We'll take a nice big inhale, reach. Exhale, draw the palms into the heart. It's customary to close a yoga practice with Namaste, which translates into the light in me honors the light in you. Namaste. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'll hit the stop record button, and if you can stay on for a moment, I'd love to hear how the body feels after our practice. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Lisa.